तनम फरशु गजा पारा
कियामत से कबल पुरजोर नारे से आपका इस्तकबाल फरमाए। नाराए तकबीर, नाराए रिसालत, नाराए रिसालत, नाराए तहकीक। इस्लाम
जिंदाबाद जिंदाबाद जिंदाबाद।
All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, creator, the master, sustainer of the universe. And make countless salutations and incredible salawat be upon the best of the creation, the being upon messengers of Allah, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. So ladies and gentlemen, I do not wish to exhaust you anymore. This is not the way of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. This is not the way of the ashab of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Abu Wa'il, he says that Abdullah used to preach to people on a Thursday. And one day some people said, or a person said to Abdullah, he said, Oh Aba Abdul Rahman, we wish that you preach to us every day. But he says that I do not preach to you every day because I do not want to exhaust you. And I do this on a Thursday or one day only because I take care of you. And this is what he learned from Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala wasallam, that he would use to select a specific time for preaching. So when we are trying to establish our connection with the deen, we should consider the fact that we do not want to exhaust ourselves, tire ourselves. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also loves those actions which are done on a regular and continuous basis. So when you encourage your children to come to the masjid, it should be done on a regular basis, but in such a moderation that you do not want to exhaust them. You know, when they are in the house, when they are at home, you bring the masjid so they read the fourth prayers and other sunnah and all the prayers. And then in gatherings, you slowly develop this connection of the children with the masjid because they are the future, as the responsibility for, you can say, carrying on the message of Islam is on their shoulders. It is their responsibility. We know that the chain of messengers and prophets that started with Sayyidina Adam and Islam finished at Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala wasallam. And there's not going to be any more messengers now, any more prophets to remind mankind of their connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to reignite that flame of Iman in their hearts, to reconnect them with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No more messengers are going to come. Then someone has to do that task of reminding each other of their connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reconnecting them with the Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala wasallam. Who the responsibility is, it is the responsibility of the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala wasallam. Our children and our parents, it is our mutual responsibility for both houses to ensure that their children are brought up in an Islamic environment. So the least that we can do is make sure that the environment of our houses, our household environment is an Islamic environment. We do not have control over what goes on outside or what happens on the streets, but we still have control over how we live our lives in our houses, how we conduct our affairs in our houses, how we talk to each other. Normalize the greeting of Islam instead of hi or hello or whatever. So normalizing Islam, dressing in a reasonable way, making sure that the parts that should be covered are covered, normalizing wearing hats, normalizing wearing the turban. This is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala. It is our responsibility to normalize this. If we do not normalize it now, then maybe 20 years down the road, down the lane, they will find it odd when they have to wear a topi or a imama or anything of that sort. So we have the time now, and now is the time as well to learn the deen, adopt the deen, make it a habit. Why? Because if we wait for a moment or time when we think we might have more time, that time is not going to arrive. As soon as we are aging, we have more responsibilities as we age. When we were young, all we had to do was study. And once we graduate or not, we then have to worry about work. We then have to worry about paying installments for our houses and other other such things, then we have to worry about our family, making sure there's food on the table, making sure that they are fed and clothed and everything. We have another responsibility, and life then becomes harder. So now, when we are young, this is the right time to learn the deen. It is easier. The burden of education is not too much. We have been through schooling ourselves. We've gone to college ourselves. We've been to university ourselves. We know that if we want to make time to learn the deen, we can. If we can make time to watch football for 90 minutes, we can make time to probably once a week, sit in a lecture for about half an hour, learn about fiqh, learn about the important matters of deen. So we know that if we want to make time, we can, and we have abundance of time. It's just that we are very careless, and we should not be careless. Why? We know that the ultimate reality is that we are going to leave the dunya, we are going to die, we are going to stand in front of our Creator, and we will have to answer for our things our actions that we did in this dunya. This is an ultimate reality, ultimate truth, and the thing that we are going to face. And if we should be in a position that we lived our lives according to the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we lived our life according to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when it comes to, as the Imam Ahsan was mentioning, certain people object that these things are, happening in the gatherings of Mawlid that shouldn't be happening. Now, if certain things are wrong in a gathering, that does not mean that the gathering should be stopped. For example, we know that there are a lot of things that happen in weddings. There is free mixing in weddings. There's music in weddings. There's a lot of haram that happens probably in weddings as well. So does that mean that we should stop weddings? Doesn't mean that. It only means that we should take out all these things that are wrong happening in perfectly fine gatherings, perfectly fine mahafil. And then the objections that are raised on the Sunnati wal Jama'ah, they are not because of our ulama or because of our learned people. It is due to what some ignorant people do, because of their ignorance, because of being unaware of the teachings of the deen. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq to learn the deen, to live our life according to the Quran and Sunnah of Rasulullah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open our hearts to the Sunnah of Rasulullah, make it easier for us to live our life according to the Quran and Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum.